And now, another exciting episode of As the River Churns.
Good afternoon. Filling in today.
Oh, wait.
Whoops.
Scooter's going to talk. We better do this.
You better. Please do. That'll keep me in line.
Grab. There you go. Okay. Sorry.
You have been talking to my wife. She says all I do is ramble. So anyway, but welcome to the River Churns today. I'm Scooter Nance, along with Susan Sitnick and Debbie Allen, who are here with the ladies golf group. And we were talking before the show started that how fitting it is that today is golf day, because today would be the first round of this year's Masters. So we're going to do our version of the Masters and talk about golf, as our ladies are so willing to talk about what's going on this year in ladies golf, since we didn't get to have the spring luncheon. So I'm going to turn it over to Susan Sitnick.
Thank you. I'm Susan Sitnick, and I'm president of the Women's Golf Association for this year. And as Scooter said, at our spring luncheon, that's normally when we introduce the new members. We talk about basically how we're going to play that season or this season. We pay our dues, which for active golfers, it's $5 for the year, and for social members, $3. And at that time, also, we hand out a book which basically gives rules, responsibilities, and then on a weekly basis gives the play of the day. So we've been somewhat successful in getting the handbooks out, but I wanted to suggest to people who have not received their handbook. Betsy Irwin is our treasurer, and she is in-house. And if you would put $5 in an envelope with your name on it and put it in her in-house mail, she will in turn put one of these handbooks then in your in-house mailbox. And then for those of you who are outside of the community, if you want to leave an envelope on my front porch, I'd be happy to then make arrangements to put one of these handbooks in your in-house mail. So taking care of dues, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, particularly for our new members, this is a 9-hole league. But we do have some members that would like to play 18 holes. So Wednesday mornings are really devoted to women's golf. So if you would like to play an additional 9 holes, you can turn in your scorecard at the end of 9 holes and then go on and play an additional 9 holes on your own. We have women with various skill levels. We have some really accomplished golfers, and then we have people like me that have really just played social golf. And I wanted to encourage people. I've had a couple of phone calls. I haven't played golf for the last 5 years. You know, I just don't know if I can play. Well, first of all, we have the golf course, which is great. You can go out and practice. You can take a cart out anytime in the afternoon and play. But I also wanted to encourage people, because this is basically a social group, and it was set up to just encourage residents as long as they could to just come out and play. So we're not a really competitive group, I would say. We have both individual and team competition. So several times a month we will play a team game. And so if there's somebody who feels really they don't want to play their own game or don't want that type of competition, you could just come out for the team competition. And it's generally a best ball type of game, so everybody can contribute something to that. We don't sign up prior to the day of golf, which is Wednesday mornings. We just come out and to play. But it is really, really important that we have a 9 o'clock tee-off time. This will go on April, May, then starting in June, July, and August, we meet at 8:30, or our tee time is at 8:30, because it's hotter during those months, so we want to start earlier. But we really encourage people to get over to our staging area by 8:30 at the latest, and be ready to play, which means you have your golf clubs on your cart by 8:45. And we have 2 coordinators for each month, and the coordinators will basically describe the mode of play for that day, and also to select the teams and which hole you will start at. So please try to be at the staging area. I guess I'm calling it the staging area. I think Scooter's going to talk a little more about that later. But behind where the new construction is of the Wellness Center, that is where we assemble. And of course, during this period with the restrictions that we have, we're really trying to maintain social distancing, and so it's been a little bit challenging, I guess. We had really, our first day of play was yesterday, and we had 14 golfers, so we had 14 golf carts. And so, I think it may be the first couple of times we may be a less organized, but we'll get it together here. Let me see what else I wanted to cover. As far as just communications are concerned, I would like to encourage people to sign up under the River Landing Women's Golf Association in Care Merge. I think there's about 20 members now that have signed up. And I did send invites out to another, I think, like 10 people. But we're going to try to communicate using Care Merge this year. So if there's any information that everyone needs to be aware of, that is the best place to look. Also, Scooter sends out an email early Wednesday morning, which allows us to know what the course conditions are for that particular day. And we've coordinated together, and I've added emails for all of the new members that I'm aware of. But if you would like to know what the course conditions are going to be for Wednesday, then, and you're not on his list, then just literally, I guess you could either email me or call me, and I'll make sure that you get on his list. I guess I'd like to at least acknowledge the new members that I know about, because we usually have people stand up at the luncheon and tell a little bit about themselves. We can't do that, but I would like to say that we have 8 new members that I'm aware of: Marnie Bukta, Pat Burkhardt, Barbara Cannon, Jan Hines, Florence Kazan, Pat Lehman, Lee McGivney, and Bert Wood. And I'm imagining that we're probably going to have a few more once people move into the hybrids. So unfortunately, I guess they'll be in quarantine for the first 2 weeks. But just please give me a call or send me an email, and we'll get you involved as soon as you can. Let me just see here.
Let me add one thing while you're looking. If anybody else is interested in getting that email, I think it might be a good idea, especially with the use that the golf course is getting during this time of restriction in other areas. Email me, and I will put you on the list, and I'll start sending that out every day. And that way everybody knows, because, for instance, on Tuesdays when the men play, Well, some of the ladies will play in the afternoon, so
Right.
they would like to know what the conditions are. And I know mainly that's what the carts are. You know, are they 90 degrees or are they on the path?
Right.
So, but anyway, we'll start doing that.
Great. I know
Great.
that was a question that
Right.
we had yesterday. One of the women brought up,
I
saying it
tipped
would
them
be.
off.
You did.
Excuse me?
I tipped them off.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Good. Good.
See, y'all thought I thought of that, but I
Right.
didn't.
No.
Last year, at the end of the season, I sent out a questionnaire to all of the active golfers because there was conversation throughout the season about things that people would like to see, perhaps changes to be made. Some games that people really liked. There were some games that people really didn't like. And one of the things I did ask, and because there was so much conversation, was whether the women possibly would like to play their own game several times a month. Currently, the games that we do play generally have a, well, how would you describe it?
They're fun games.
Fun games.
They're intended to be social.
Tended to be social, correct. So, and it overwhelmingly came back that the women would like to play their own game several times a month. So we've designed the book this year using the Stableford Scoring system. And twice a month, we're going to be playing our own game. And Debbie has very been active in the Golf Association for a number of years, is fully aware of the scoring system. And so she volunteered that she would be our, quote, Stableford chair this year. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit about how this is going to actually play out.
Thank you, President Sitnick. When she had only been in office for less than a year, President Susan Sitnick recognized there was interest in making some changes in our league. With President Sitnick's bias for action, President Sitnick
How about Susan?
spared no expense and immediately designed and distributed a survey to the active golfers. Upon seeing the results, President Sitnick exercised her strong leadership, left no stone unturned, and became personally engaged. President Sitnick immediately appointed a steering committee, which was chaired by Diana Cruz. President Sitnick requested a proposal from the committee in a Sitnick minute. At the president's direction, the steering committee was to design something that maintained the spirit of fellowship, but allowed for more real golf and added to the equity in the games. The president feels that we have to take care of our golfers. The steering committee presented their proposal to President Sitnick, and with President Sitnick's approval, we are implementing it last week. The proposal presented to President Sitnick was to continue with our traditional games, the more social games, twice a month, but to have individual play scored with the version of Stableford the other 2 times a month. On these days, as in all days, the groups will be determined at random, so if we ever get to ride together, we'll get to know everybody a little better. The River Landing course does not have a USGA sloper rating, but this system does allow a form of handicapping, which will add equity to the play. It's the same method used by the Ladies League at Jamestown, where I play. It's also similar to the system used by the River Landing men. It's a little bit more simplified, and I did consult with Jack, so now would be a good time for Jack to go get a snack and not listen to the rest, because I ignored some of what he told me. But this new system, you're going to love it. And the reason you're going to love it is anybody can win. All you have to do is have a good day. At the president's urging, the way it will work is this. In April, the games of the day will be points. You will record your score and assign points to each hole. At the end of the month, you will be assigned a point target. Then beginning in May, twice a month we will play points, but the winner will not be total points, it will be net points. It sounds confusing, but I'm going to show you a chart in a minute which will make it very clear to you. So the winner will be versus your point target. It's really quite simple. And it's much more forgiving than a gross score, because if you're playing a gross score, you can have a blow-up hole and get a 10, and if you usually get a 6, it counts you 4 strokes. In this new system, where you would be a bogey player, you only lose 1. So it actually makes it harder for the better, consistent golfers to win. It takes away their advantage. Boo. So I'll illustrate with my back scratcher. Has to warm up first, evidently. Okay. We're referring to this as the Stableford Scoring. So what happens is we're going to give 3 points for a birdie, 2 for a par, and 1 for a bogey. This is how we're starting off, and we do reserve the right to tweak the system a little bit if it doesn't work out. So we have golfer A and we have golfer B. Golfer A plays twice in April and achieves point scores of 2 and 4. This would be somebody who's, well, about mid-50s gross. You don't need to worry about that. That's just to kind of give you a frame of reference. So the beginning target, because she had a 2 and a 4, would be 3. Golfer B, is a little better golfer, scored 8 points and 12 points. So we're going to start her at a 10. This is someone who shoots about mid-40 gross. Okay, so then in May, we come play, and we record our regular score, and then we assign points to each hole based on what par is for the hole, whether it's a birdie, a par, a bogey, or nothing. So golfer A on May 6th, which is our first day, is going to play, and when she totals up her points, she's got 6 points. She had a really good day. So she had 6. She was supposed to get 3, so she's plus 3. So she's very happy. Well, golfer B didn't sleep very well. So golfer B, who was supposed to get a 10, only got 8. So if you take 8, subtract it from the 10 she was supposed to have, she's minus 2. So we look at this in the winner, even though golfer B might have a lower gross score, the winner is A, because she had a plus 3 versus a minus 2. So as you can see, this is the winner. Anybody can win. All you have to do is have a good day. Now, also, there will probably be some people who won't play in April or who are new. There is a way, using a USGA Debbie formula, that we can get people started out. But you'll only be sandbagging once, because we're going to adjust it every time initially, since it's new and since the course seems to keep changing on us. Also, if you play not in the league and you have a legitimate score and you want me to consider it in your handicap, just give me the card, and when I do the calculation, I will look at those. And if you have any questions, you can call Susan or myself.
All right, very good. I think that's a really good way to play, because it makes everybody competitive, and it makes them feel like everybody has a chance.
Right.
So I think it's really neat, because it's really not based on par. It's just based on your par, if you will, is your points.
That's right.
So that works out really good.
Plus, I think, each person then can try to improve her own game,
Right.
too, which is something that the women said they'd really like to do.
So very good. All right. Well, I'd like to say that I'm excited for the start for women's golf, because I know women's golf has been a little bit up and down as far as participation, but I hope that this is the start of something good, that 14 is the normal, not a great day.
That's going to be the low. We have some new, very good, enthusiastic golfers, and we're looking forward to playing with you and getting to know you better.
Yep.
So keep coming, please.
We've got about 52 people that are in the Golf Association now. About 20 of those are social members, But you know, I think we'll probably have on average 15 or more golfers every Wednesday.
Well, that's exciting. So that's long overdue. I know when we first started the Women's Golf Association, there was probably about 13 to 14 that played. And then I guess maybe even a couple of years ago, it was almost like 6. So this is exciting. So I'm happy for you and happy for the ladies. So keep coming out, ladies, because we love to see you out there playing. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about from the ladies' golf?
Nope.
I don't think so, other than maybe just to mention about a social membership. And we do have women that have played golf in the past and no longer for health reasons can. And so, as I said, we have about 20 members who do come to the luncheon. We have a spring and a fall luncheon. And then we aren't going to be able to do this with the restrictions that are now in place, but the fourth Wednesday of each month, we call it a social member day. And we encourage the social members to come out with the active golfers. And if they just want to maybe just chip and putt, that's fine. But we do encourage them to come out. And also, as a normal procedure, we generally have lunch after we finish golf. And of course, we can't do that now as with the current restrictions. But we've encouraged our social members to come and join us for lunch as well.
Well, very good. Well, that's good. All right, before I talk about the news of the day, I've got the joke of the day. So today's joke is, all right, after a particularly poor round, a golfer spotted a lake as he walked despondently up the 18th hole. He looked at his caddy and said, "I've played so badly all day, I think I'm going to drown myself in that lake." And the caddy quickly, in a flash, responded, "I'm not sure you can keep your head down long enough to do that." So anyway, that's my joke of the day.
How true.
Do what?
How true.
Exactly. All right, the one thing that's exciting in the midst of all the kind of uncertainty with the coronavirus and all that is we are going to open all 9 holes starting Monday at noon.
Yay.
So I can hear the applause all through the building and all through the campus. So there, unfortunately, being the time of year it is, there's still a few things that we're going to have to kind of overlook and deal with. Like, for instance, on the original or the number 1, which I'm not even going to get into all these confusing numbers. Number 1 is still going to have to play the way it is right now because when we laid the sod and did the work to finish off that portion of construction, the Bermuda grass had not had time to grow in, so it still looks like it was sodded yesterday. So we're going to need probably, well, it's hard to say this year because it's been so warm, but I would have to guess that it would be probably late June before we were able to get on the new tees and play that hole the full length. Down in front of number 9 green, we laid sod about 3 weeks ago. This real warm weather has been a real plus there, so it has rooted down, but it still has not grown together. So it's playable, but it's just not to the standard of the other areas on the golf course. But the 2 new greens, this weather, early spring, starting to warm up in March, they've come in. They are really nice. I'm really excited for everybody to play number 2. I really like the way that green turned out. I think it's going to be a really fun hole, and it's going to be different. Now, some of you have never played it the old way, so we're all learning together. So that'll be exciting. One thing, too, we will continue until we are allowed to kind of use the clubhouse for its intended purpose. We will still start back where Ms. Sitnick was saying, behind where the clinic is, back there where wellness construction is going on. I know there's a lot of mornings, especially it's even harder with our rule of 1 person per cart. I know it gets congested, so we're looking at ways to try to relieve that congestion during this kind of what I'll call interim time. But we need to stay back there just for logistics with all the other things that are going on. So if you'll just bear with us a little bit longer, I appreciate your patience. I feel like we're closer today than we were yesterday of getting away from our restrictions and getting back to what we hope is a more normal life. So a few things to think about as we go. One thing, too, hole number 8, I know that our new hybrid folks that are moving in up there with their quarantine, I know that we wanted to try to respect them and them respect us for staying away, but playing golf and walking along that cart path are two different things. When you're playing golf, you're focused on golf, you're moving right past. Most of the time when you're walking, you're leisurely cruising along, and that's an opportunity to talk to your neighbor, to, speak to someone. So that's why we really discourage walkers at this time going up the 8th hole. And so golf, like I said, golf is a little different, but let's remember that so that we don't put anybody in an awkward situation, and this will be behind us before we know it, and we'll be able to enjoy that as it's intended to be. Another thing, too, that comes up a lot, especially this time of year, because when we go through the winter, there's very little golf, and it's easy to walk and ride your bike out on the golf course. But right now, play is really up at all times of day. And so usually our biggest play moments are times when our organized groups play. Like when the men play this time of year, they tee off at 10, but that's changing next week to 9 o'clock. The ladies are already playing at 9. So we really need you off the golf course by 9 o'clock. And another question or statement that is posed to me a lot is when I ask people who are out there on the golf course in the middle of the day to, please refrain from being out there. When they're on the cart path, they don't think they're on the golf course. That's the statement has been, well, I'm not out on the grass. If you're on the cart path, you're on the golf course. And if you don't play golf, it's a little bit unnerving to stand there and want to hit a golf shot when somebody's walking towards you, or even if they're courteous enough to just stop. It still is a little hard to focus because all you're thinking about now is I don't want to hit that person. So I understand that there's times you look out there and it doesn't look like many people or anybody's out there, but we really need you for your safety to abide by those rules. So we really need you off the golf course by 9 o'clock. And the evenings are the tough ones because we just don't know who's out there. Some days nobody's out there. So it's hard for us to make a rule to say you can go out after 7. But so we really would like for you to just stay off the golf course after 9 o'clock. And if there's, any questions, you can call me. But we want to be respectful of that. All right. Well, that, I think, is all I need to talk about for the golf course.
I have a question.
Okay.
When are the new cards coming?
The new cards are here.
Okay. So when are we going to start playing one as one? So that we're matching the cards.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said cards. Cards.
No, cards.
Oh. We will start playing number 1 as number 1 when we start playing from the clubhouse.
Oh, so
it won't match what's on the cards.
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Okay. If the new cards, number 1 is going to have the distance and the par of old number 1, which is going to then be number 1 again.
Yes.
Why would we not, once we had a card that said that, use that as the first hole?
Well, you can use it as the first hole, but we just think logistically it's better to start on what is now number 5, or the current, or what we're using as number 1, just because that's where everybody starts.
Okay. Are you going to then change? It's not so much where we start. Are you going to change the numbers that are on the holes now? Take off those temporary tags?
We will.
Okay.
Yes.
That'll help.
Yeah. Because what we would do, it'd almost be like if you started a shotgun start. If you go out and you start on number 3, then that's where you would start keeping score. So what you would have to do here temporarily until we are starting on number 1, just remember to start your score on hole 5. And then you could go around, and then when you get to number 4, that's your kind of 9 holes. And I've got a lot of older scorecards, so I'd like to use those as long as we could. But the new ones should be here, I think, in a couple weeks. So, and they look good. They're nice. They're a little bit different, but they're nice. They do have the new yardages on there. But we also, on the new tees, we have a yardage block at each tee that will tell you how far that hole is. We have the 100-yard markers and the 150-yard markers in hole number 8. So all that is out there, and we're just ready to see somebody play those holes.
Okay.
So,
I think with all the new golfers, it will help to get those temporary numbers off the holes.
I'll be glad to do that because I've wanted to take them off the day we put them on. So, because it's confusing. It really is. And when you say, well, number 1, or I mean number 3, and the hardest part, it reminds me when River Landing first opened, because most of the holes we play now were the back 9 of the old Sandy Ridge golf course. So like, for instance, what we play now, the par 5, number 3, was number 12. And I'd always say, well, down there at number 12, and everybody's like, well, I thought this was a 9-hole golf course. So it's a little bit confusing, but it'll all work out.
I have a question,
Okay.
too. When I first came, we paid $5 in the greens fees each time that we played. And now that we're back to 9 holes, are we going to institute that again, or when?
We will institute that when we are playing out of the clubhouse. When we feel like we are back, the golf operation is operating normally and fully, then we will go back to those rates.
Okay.
That's a good question. All right.
I think I'm...
Well, I'm going to transition now into a little bit on the landscape side, and just to talk a little bit about what's going on over there, what our crew is doing, and let you know what we've got going on. So the biggest thing with this social distancing is trying not to have my guys on top of each other when they're working together. And some of our planting projects, especially if we're taking plants out, especially bigger plants, that sometimes will require us to be in really close circles. And really, too, we're exerting a lot of energy when we're doing that, so we may even be breathing harder. And I know we're wearing masks and those type things, but for the safety of us, our staff, and for the community, we're kind of refraining from doing those jobs right now. Most of our guys we're trying to do one-man jobs where they can go out and just work individually, and that seems to be working well because we want to keep their confidence high that they're not going to come and get exposed by their coworker or anything like that. So we are really trying to adhere to that. So bear with us on that. Most of you have been, I shouldn't say most, all of you have been very understanding of where we are and what we're trying to do and to keep our campus looking beautiful during this time. Another question has come up a lot, and rightfully so. We are in that time of year to transition from fall flowers to summer flowers. And if anybody is interested in wanting summer flowers, I will be producing a document tomorrow that will give you the options of what you can order, and we will order those for you. There will be a price for those, and I will list that on the sheet that will be available tomorrow. The one thing we will not be able to do, because I feel like the numbers are going to be pretty high, and I hope they are, but we will not be able to create new beds. Now, that doesn't mean we can't add soil to where we've planted them for you before, or if you have a bed that's already established and we need to prepare it for flowers, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is creating a whole new area for flowers to begin with. That would just take too much time, and we really want to get these plants planted in a reasonable amount of time. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that this year. Or this spring season. Maybe in the fall, if you want something new, we can do that. We also have the option, if you need to and want to, order vegetables. I can get those as well. So that will be on the sheet tomorrow, and we'll be able to order those and get those in. But I will say, let's not be in a quick hurry, even though it's been really warm, to plant the summer flowers because Friday night is going to be 36 degrees. And out here, that could be more like 33 or 32. Last Wednesday morning, we actually had a light frost. So our normal frost here, our last normal frost is about April 15th. So we'll give it another week or two, and then we'll be ready to go. And we should be home free from frost. But other than that, I think that's all I have. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with you. Oh, let me just say this. I did think of something. I brought this with me, and I just looked down and saw it. Just from a landscape side, just kind of an idea of what our focus is. Did you turn it back over?
No.
Oh, just,
Oh, God, no.
just oh, come on. I'm just getting started now. Just kind of a general rundown of what our schedule is for the year, for each month during the year, for what we focus on from the landscape side. And like, for instance, in April, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I would guess that we're probably 10 days, maybe 2 weeks ahead of schedule as far as like dogwoods blooming, the Bermuda grass greening up, just how warm the ground is. But still, that doesn't mean that a frost couldn't hurt anything. So really, coming up in April, our biggest focus is more like weed control, especially after a wet winter. We put a pre-emerge down in the fall, but that chemical usually runs its course by February, 1st of March. But the fact that it was so wet, it allowed some of those winter weeds to germinate even in March and April or March. And so we've had a real issue with that this year. So we've got that under control, or getting it under control. So that's one of our main focuses in April, as well as putting out pre-emerge to keep the weeds at bay in our plant beds, in our lawn areas, and those type of things. And then when we go into May, our focus now, we start looking at trimming bushes, doing those type of things. And May really, because there's a lot of bushes out here to trim. And there's more it seems like they're getting bigger and bigger, but which is good. But that is really our biggest focus in May. So we'll do that. June tends to be more pushing our Bermuda grass. As you know that you've lived here a while, our grass of choice, or actually it's kind of chosen for us, if you will, by the fact that this was an 18-hole golf course, is Bermuda grass. And for all of you folks that aren't accustomed to Bermuda grass or look at it as a weed, I love Bermuda grass. But anyway, it has its downfall, and turning brown in the winter is one of them. But most of the biggest time of year to encourage growth for Bermuda grass is June, July, and August. And fescue is just the opposite. So we really push the Bermuda in June and July. Then in August, we come back in with some touch-up pruning, and then we just start getting ready for winter, doing those type of things. So that's kind of just, I know that's very brief and as far as each month goes, but I just wanted you to know kind of what our focuses are. But as always, we're here to help. We're here to do what we can. And, our goal is for River Landing to be not only the best retirement community, but the best looking retirement community. So our guys work hard to do that. And that's our goal each and every day, to try to achieve that. So anyway, with all that said, that was my ramble for the day. So there's no other questions or comments. We will call it a day. So y'all have a great day, and we will see you on the course and around the community. Thank you.
Okay.